So my friends, welcome to chapter 19 of Just Return. It's a new day. Belle had struggled through the last few days. Her head was sore, and though Gus had persuaded her to let him clean it again, it had not cleared up very well. It was like toothache gnawing away. And though she tried hard to go on, it was really getting her down, and neither of them knew what to do about it. This Monday morning, as they collected food, she'd nearly fallen from a tree, and she knew the pain was causing her to have loss of concentration. Gus was very concerned about her, but all he got was the very basic medical kit that he'd found in the crashed aircraft. That afternoon, as they prepared food, Belinda asked, "How are we going to get out of here?" "I don't know, my daughter. I'm not sure." "I'm not sure you want to, Gus. I think you're happy to stay here, living this life." Gus was surprised at the tone in her voice. The usual kindly, affectionate girl was speaking more like a prosecuting lawyer. "You know that's not true. We've been here months now, and what have you done to get us out of it?" "Well, what?" "What?" "Well, we've survived." "Yes, like monkeys." "Well, what's the matter with you today? What's upset you?" "What's upset me? Everything. I'm 21 years old. My life is on hold. I want to live. My hope of everything is smashed. What do you think's wrong with me?" Gus rose and tried to put his arm around the girl, but she pulled away. "You don't care, Gus. You've no thoughts of a future. You want to stay here. I don't want to live here for the rest of my life." Her eyes were blazing and she was shouting, "You don't care that I'm doomed to a life cut off from everything." "I do care, Belle. If I knew how, I would get you home. But now half the forest is flooded, for all I know. Maybe all the natives aren't as friendly as our friends are. I don't have a clue how to get you out of here." "Yes, you don't have a clue. Look at me. I'm 21 and should be living life to the full. I'm sick of this. You hear me? I hate it. I desire a life that goes somewhere. I might as well be dead." Belle raged and stomped and threw things in all directions. A dish of nuts, a notebook, a knife. "I wish I was home. Wish I'd never come here." Gus felt it best to say nothing. He let her rant and rave. It was a long time since he'd had to deal with a frustrated rage in a woman, but he knew anything he said just now would be like turning the heat up on a boiling kettle. Better to wait, he thought, until the heat is gone. He looked around. Everything was wet from the rain. It was hot. It was alive with insects. He too was frustrated with the camp and the struggle to survive. He was deeply worried about Belle's head, and it was true, he didn't have a clue what to do. He knew that this tropical rainforest, though beautiful, was dangerous. Which direction could they go in? Where could they go? He contemplated building a boat of some kind and drifting down the river, but here they had food, and it was okay. They knew where to find it. They had water, and the natives were friendly. Was it really worth changing all the things around them, moving somewhere else, maybe being no nearer to being rescued, and risk the balance of survival? It was also true, if he was honest, that when things were going well, he was happy here. He had excellent company. He didn't have to face up to his lonely, hidden existence in England's northeast. There he couldn't let anyone in too much. Oh yes, there were the guys at the pub. He even played darts and dominoes with them. There were the friendly shopkeepers. He got his pension. The neighbours spoke to him. "Nice morning, Gus. Going for a walk, Gus? Sandra passed her A-levels, Gus." They even sent him Christmas cards. But he'd rarely been in anyone's homes, and few had ever entered his. Belle was right. He could possibly settle for living the rest of his life here, but she was wrong if she thought he would condemn her to that. He knew that if he could find a way to get her home to her mother, he would. Today, if he could. He was convinced that the safest, wisest thing was to stay where they were at the moment. He knew he would die for this young lady if need be, and it hurt him that she seemed to think he was selfish and unconcerned. Still, with her in a raging fury, it was pointless to argue, so he just continued to prepare food and ignored her hurtful temper-fueled comments. In angry disgust, Belle stomped off in the direction of the watering place, but ignoring completely their usual rule of always taking something to carry water back with. After she left, Gus gathered her scattered belongings and put them safely in one place on a rock near her tent. Belle's rage had begun to subside. By the time she reached the waterfall, she knew she'd just behaved like a spoiled teenager throwing a tantrum. Something she'd very rarely done. She sat on a rock, dipping her feet into the water, and the beautiful tranquility of this place calmed her, and she began to deeply regret the way she had spoken to Gus. She thought back to the day a long time before, she must have been about 14, that she'd fallen out with her mother. It hadn't been anything serious at the start, and another day it would have just been nothing. But her mother had particularly asked her if she would vacuum the downstairs for her after she finished her homework. Her mum was under a bit of pressure. Usually Belle didn't need to be asked twice, and though she was not a saint by any means, she did have a love and appreciation for her mother, and was glad to help her out around the house. She'd finished her homework, then put on some music, got out Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and gone off into the imaginings of the author's Wessex. The next morning, Saturday, Belle had got up, and as they ate breakfast, her mother had said, "I'm a bit disappointed, Belle." "Why, Mum?" "The vacuuming." Instead of saying, "Sorry, Mum, I'll do it before I go round to Grandad," she said, "Look, I was working really hard at school all week and I had some tough homework last night. I was tired and I forgot. I need some relaxation, you know." "Yes, Belinda, and so do I." "I do a lot more round here than most kids." "So do I, Belle. Most mums have a husband." "Well, if what I do doesn't please you, I won't do anything anymore." "Belle, what's got into you today? What's the problem?" "Nothing. It's you, nagging all the time." "I only said I was disappointed." "Too bad. Do it yourself. I've had enough being nagged at. Teachers, prefects, you. Do it yourself. I'm going out." It was one of the very few occasions when Belle had actually slammed the door. She didn't know it, but she had left her mum in tears. She was still grieving, struggling, hardly coping. If Belinda was going to be like this, why was she bothering? She watched her daughter stride down the street full of indignation, and every step away from her was like a kick in the teeth, and that was from the person she was struggling for. Belle had stormed round to her grandfather's house, fuming like an active volcano. She tried to compose herself and be her usual cheery self, but he knew her too well to be fooled. "Where are we going then, Grandad?" He looked at the eyes still blazing and said, "We're having a drink first." He made 2 cups of coffee and said, "What's the matter with you this morning?" "Nothing." She was very unconvincing. "Come on, my chicken," he often called her that. "I know when you're upset. Spill it out." "Well, if you really want to know, I just had a blazing row with Mum and came out in a rage too." "Oh, and what annoyed you so much?" Belle told the story with a lot of what we today would call spin, so as to make it look good to him. Grandad didn't know about spin, but he called it flannel. "OK, Belle, so we have your propaganda. Now take the flannel out and let's examine it again." "What do you mean?" "Go back to last night when you finished your homework. Did you decide that you would not do the vacuum cleaning?" "No, I forgot." "Did you tell your mum that?" "Yes." "Was it her fault you forgot?" He waited. "Was it?" "No." "What did she say that upset you so much?" "She said she was disappointed." "I see. Why do you think that was?" Belle didn't answer. "Oh, Belinda, calm down and look at this situation as if you were not involved. Hard to do, but an art well worth practicing." "Yes, Grandad, but I've worked really hard all week, and I worked hard at my homework last night. I dried the dishes before I started it too." "Well, that's good. But you're not doing her a favour, you know. Who cooked the meal? Who washed the dishes? And while you were at school, what's your mother doing?" "Ah, you don't want to answer, do you? Well, then Grandad will remind you. She goes out early in the morning and cleans at Smith and Hackney's in the office, and then on Friday morning, as every other morning, she goes off to work in the coffee shop. Do you think she was tired last night?" "Why does she do it, Belle? Lots of single parents live on benefits, but she wants to provide for you because she loves you. So did she have a right to be a little disappointed?" Belle started to cry. "Why are you crying?" For about 10 minutes she sobbed, resting in her Grandad's arms. "Dry your eyes now. What are you thinking?" "Oh, Grandad, at times I get so angry. Everything seems to be so hard. Life, school, relationships, everything." "Ah, Belle, you know what a lot of this is. It's female hormones. Teenagers struggle with the transition from my little chicken to my beautiful grown-up granddaughter. It's a hard transition. It is. It is like the chrysalis that struggles to be a beautiful butterfly. All the struggling hurts. What do you think you could do? Admit I was wrong? An admirable start, Val. So you were wrong. What's required? An apology? Yes. I find that very hard to do, Grandad. Well, here's a good day to learn. Every decent human on this planet is a better person because they learn to admit it when they're wrong. Today is a good day for you to say, I'm going to behave like an adult. How could you do that? No, don't answer. Just do it. Beth had excused herself of her walk with her granddad, gone home, vacuumed and dusted the house from top to bottom. Then she'd gone to the market, brought some cheap flowers and a cheap card because she had not got much money. She'd put these on the dining room table, and on the card she'd written, Dear Mum, I'm so sorry for upsetting you. I was in the wrong and I'm very upset that I got so angry. I really love and appreciate you. Please be patient with me and help me keep growing up. Love, Belle. And some kisses. She'd waited for her mum to come in from work, gave her time to read the card, and then came down the stairs. She just grabbed her mother and they had hugged for ages. I know it's tough for you, Mum, and I really want to help. You have, Belle, said her mum. I'm proud of you. Belle thought back to that time now, as her feet dangled in the water near the waterfall.